I know how much these particular things would mean to these people financially. I know the service that I can provide them from a professional standpoint. Not only are they costing themselves money, they're costing themselves time, in my opinion, they're costing themselves income. And so I think that's the encouragement that I want to share with you, is that
The Mark Bigg Show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mark Bigg Show. So grateful that you're here. First and foremost, I always say thank you just for stopping in, whether it's this episode or you've watched all of them to this point. Can't tell you how much that means to me and how much I appreciate it. Obviously, the goal of this entire thing is to just add value to anyone that stops in and tunes in for one episode or all of them. So thank you for being here, and hopefully you learned something. Today is going to be kind of discussing things that I've dealt with as an entrepreneur, especially over the last little bit specifically, but it's things that anyone can apply in their life, and that's just kind of facing rejection in certain instances when you've done all you can do. So if you've listened to any of the episodes recently, you know that I've been kind of diving into more of marketing on the financial planning side of my business, and basically just going out on a not necessarily on a limb, because it's a proven system and process across the industry, but something that I've never done specifically. The small success that I've had in my career has been based off of mostly word of mouth and warm leads from clients that I already work with on the tax side of things. And so we've really ramped up our efforts on dinner events and other marketing events, educational seminars, stuff like that, kind of more marketing to the public in general instead of just clients that are already in my sphere, so to speak. So with that comes, as I mentioned before, a lot of stress, a lot of coordination. These are live events with a presentation with a live audience, and all the things that go along with that. We've had our hiccups. We've done our things well on certain nights, and things have fired on all cylinders most of the time. But obviously, with anything like that, there's always going to be some hiccups that come along with it. And so we've rolled with the punches and done what I felt like as best we can do. So with that, at the end of these events, basically the idea from my perspective is I'm kind of giving the crowd a presentation of how I and my firm views financial planning as a whole. And so we go through all the different, things about investments and asset allocation and risk. We talk about how taxes play a part in that. We talk about insurance and retirement planning and estate planning, all the fun, boring stuff that entails with what I do, right? And so what that does for a prospect is it gives them what I would say is a taste test. Do they like how I talk? Do they like how I approach things? Does their philosophy with their money align with how I, operate and see financial planning? So then at the end of the presentation, the goal for me is to set as many appointments as I can from the people in the room. So there's a hard ask at the end. It's like, hey, you've listened to this presentation. If you think we can be a fit for you, see us in the back after the presentation's over. We'll set a complimentary consultation. We'll go over your situation, see if we can help your situation, see if you feel like we're a good fit for you to hire us as your advisor, see if we want to work together, so to speak. So that type of event allows the person to not walk into my office one-on-one, which can be intimidating for a lot of prospects if they don't know me. It's just the nature of people. So gives them a chance to see if they like me, if they want to work with me potentially or not, see if I'm all BS based off of the presentation once they meet with me, all the things. So it's basically a way to start the relationship as a client and advisor relationship goes. So with that, we've set, great appointments. We've had great numbers, and, there's certain situations where I'll meet with a client or a prospect at the time, and we go through the first meeting, and you can tell, very early on, they're not very serious about hiring me or whatever. They may have just felt bad because I bought them a steak and they felt obligated to come take the meeting, and that's fine. That's part of it. And with these things, about half the room typically is just there to listen and have the meal and go home, and you never hear from them again. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So the ones that come in, and I usually, especially over the last 2 or 3 presentations, I've went in and said, hey, at the end of it, if you're not serious, please don't set a meeting. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste mine. But, we put together real solutions for people and help them, advance their retirement, advance towards retirement, put a plan in place, whatever the case may be. So if you're serious about this and you think we could be a fit, then set the meeting, and we'll see if we can work together. And so the people that have come in, we've had great success from it. Numbers have been good, blah, blah, blah. But there's just been a couple situations over the last couple weeks that have transpired that I took the first meeting and really hit it off with these people and felt like the conversation went well. And this is 2 separate scenarios specifically that I'm talking about, and felt like we could really be a good fit. So And a big gauge for me is how open are they going to be with their information. If they're not even going to show me a statement or show me dollar amounts, then they're really not serious about trusting me to be their advisor, right? They're kind of shielded, they're guarded, which I understand. But if they're actually serious about thinking that I can help them, they're going to give me the information I need to run my analysis, right? So these two specific meetings, high net worth individuals in my regard for my business, very positive interaction with both the man and the wife in one, and then the other one was just the husband. Very positive interactions with both. And immediately after they left, they sent me the information that I requested in order to prepare my analysis for them. So long story short, I prepare analysis for them, present it to them in the second meeting, and then we see from there, like, hey, does this work? Does this make sense? Do you want to hire me? Do you not? Do you need more time? Blah, blah, blah. So going into the second meeting, felt very strongly about both. With both of them, I go through, present, what I see about what they currently have. And I tell them straight up, this is not meant to beat up either your old advisor or if you've been doing it yourself, beat up what you've done. I want to highlight the good things, and then I want to highlight things that if you hire me that I would probably change, and here's why. So we go through both meetings, and in one scenario, the gentleman still had his money with who was his workplace plan provider. So he had a 401k where he worked. He still had his money there. The other one, they had been investing on their own pretty much their entire adult life, had accumulated a lot of assets, some very positive things inside of their portfolio. But there was a few key points that I was like, hey, listen, we do this, this, and this. It's going to save you tax money now. It's going to save you tax money later. These particular funds haven't performed at all. They've actually lost money over the course of the last 5 or 10 years. So let's reposition this. Let's, put this here. This would really enhance the performance of your portfolio. We're going to leave the stuff that you've done well alone. I'm not going to manage it. I'm not going to take a fee off of it. I think you should keep doing it. This particular part of your portfolio, I think you should give to me. Here's why. Here's the steps, blah, blah, blah. One of the parties was like, I don't know why we don't sign this today. The other spouse was like, I'm the more conservative one. I'd like to just think this over, talk about it, whatever. Okay, no problem. I'd love to hear from you whenever you're ready. So as I'm walking them out to the front, and I think it was the husband in this scenario was like, you'll hear from me tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, man, that's a strong indicator. A lot of times it's just kind of like, all right, well, we'll think about it and we'll call you. So I walked out very confident. And in my head, I'm like, this makes perfect sense. It helps their risk. So they're taking less risk, meaning they can lose less money. This is going to make them a lot of money up front. It's going to save them some taxes now. It's going to save them on taxes, which was one of the things they pointed out to me in the first meetings, that they were getting crushed on taxes. So how can we improve that? So it checked all these boxes, and it made them a significant amount of money up front just for moving it via one of the products that we were thinking about using. And he says, you'll hear from me tomorrow. This was on a Wednesday, and I was like, okay, this is great. So Thursday, Friday rolls by, no call. I'm like, it's probably not good. So I let it ride till Monday, and I call, and the answer was, I don't think we're going to move forward. I think we can outperform what you had showed us over the course of 5 or 10 years. And to be honest with you, I was flabbergasted because the part of the portfolio that we were going to be moving had lost money. It was actually negative over the course of 10 years. And so in my mind, I'm like, performance was the last thing that I expected to be the excuse or reasoning or whatever you want to call it. So I was kind of taken aback, and I was like, okay, I understand. I thought we had a good plan in place, but, I understand. And they were just like, if we change our mind, we'll call you. We appreciate your time, and we really may work with you going forward, but we're just not going to move forward right now. I said, okay. In the other scenario, gentleman kind of said the same thing. He was like, well, this makes perfect sense. In the second meeting, after me showing him kind of what I was going to change, why we were going to do it, the performance, that particular client was going to make an extra, I don't know the exact numbers, but $40,000 to $50,000 a year based off his past performance, taking about half the risk, and had a good income plan that, he was never going to run out of money, probably leave a very large legacy for his estate. And so I felt very confident about that one, and then didn't hear from him for a couple of days. So we follow up, and his reasoning was, I'm going to keep it where it's at just because I like to keep everything in one place. And I was like, okay, we will hold it in one place as well, but that doesn't quite make sense. So anyways, I respond with an email, and I'm like, okay, I understand, but, kind of what was the deciding factor? Because based off of what we had discussed, we were going to far outperform what you had been doing and take tremendously less risk is how I worded it. And he kind of followed up and just essentially said, I'm okay with the results and the service that I've been getting with my previous 401k company, so I'm just going to leave it where it's at for now. Maybe we can revisit it later. So what's the point in all that? kind of a gut punch for me at the time, because in my mind, I'm like, man, these two, and there's some instances where I meet with clients and I'm like, yeah, we could probably do better, but it's kind of a hard sell because it's not a huge drastic change. So the key for me at that point is, how do I make it big enough for them that they want to hire me? Right. But these two specific scenarios, what I felt like were slam dunks. And so the point of this entire thing and bringing this up is, I did everything that I could in that moment. I had done the legwork to do the presentation, to get them in the room. My presentation had moved them enough to set the meetings, to even come into my office to begin with. The first meeting went well enough that they wanted to hear out what I had to say in the second meeting and see if we were a fit. And in that second meeting, there's all kinds of different sales approaches. I'm not a salesman by nature. I'm of a firm believer in my field that, like, if I can present my value to you, then you can make the decision on your own if you want to hire me. I don't feel like I should try to coerce you with certain language or use different sales tactics just to get you to say yes in the moment. So, maybe that's a flaw of mine, but I feel like if I'm doing a good enough job of presenting my value to you, then you'll make the decision on your own. And so in these instances, I kind of go back and replay the conversations, like, could I have said this differently? Could I have said that differently? But at the end of the day, I was prepared. I did the work up front. I did the analysis and the proposal the way that it should be. I handled the meetings the way that they should have been. Those people just aren't ready. And so it's kind of one of those deals where it made me at that moment go back and kind of question, like, do I even need to be doing these outside events and doing this? Because at times I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels, spending all this time, effort, money, energy to get these people in the room. But if they're not ready, they're not ready. And so the point is despite the no's and the rejection that you may get, you have to stick with the process. And like I said early on in this episode, this is a proven process throughout all over our country and in my industry that these things work. So looking inward, what do I need to do? I need to make sure that I'm always the sharpest I can be. I'm as knowledgeable as I can be. I'm receptive to these people and what is important to them. And I'm speaking to that and not just what I think they should hear. So I've got to continue to do the things that I know are correct and trust that the process will play itself out. Because just because it's no now doesn't mean it'll be no forever. And so I think that's the encouragement that I want to share with you, is that if you're doing the work and you're putting in the work, the time, the effort, the energy, there's going to be times where you did everything you could and the answer's still no. And we have to be okay with that. And that's a hard thing for me to swallow, especially for me, because selfishly, I know how much these particular things would mean to these people financially. I know the service that I can provide them from a professional standpoint. And then on the backside of that, not only are they costing themselves money, they're costing themselves time, in my opinion, they're costing themselves income. Quite frankly, they're costing me money as well. This is how I feed my family. This is how I, provide for my family. This is the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in as to doing this. And so it's frustrating on multiple fronts. And I'm just somebody that I struggle with failure, because I feel like in those moments that it's a failure. But at the same time, I have to remind myself the answer is no now, but that doesn't mean it's no forever. And that doesn't mean that I have to question the entire process. I can control how I respond to this. I can control whether or not I show up the next day. I can control whether or not that shows up in the next meeting, the next conversation I have with someone else. Because if I'm going to let that bleed over into different conversations and meetings and parts of my life, that's where the problem is on me. So I encourage you, if you're doing the work, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the time, the effort, the energy, the blood, sweat, tears, your own money, all the things, trust the process. If you know this process is proven, you've got to continue to sharpen your skill set, keep the right mindset, and keep showing up even when you get some of these no's that really just kind of punch in the gut, for lack of a better term. So I hope that's encouragement for you, because business is hard, life is hard. And you can apply this to any realm of your life that you want. There's going to be times where you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're putting in the effort, you're going above and beyond in your mind, and the results at that point in time just aren't what they are. And that's one of the things that I think sports does so well for so many athletes and former athletes, is teaching them that. Because I know at the end of the day, even though I'm pissed off and I'm frustrated and I'm angry, or whatever emotion comes with it, that I'm still doing what I should be doing. I'm still following the process that I should be following. And I got to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, because I know at some point sowing all these seeds is going to bear fruit down the road. So that's my encouragement for you, is if you're in a season right now, whether you're listening to this now or 2 years from now, wherever it is, there's going to be seasons where the answer is just no. So that doesn't mean you change your process. That doesn't mean you quit showing up, quit working hard, quit doing the things that got you to the point that you're at already. So keep doing the little things, keep working hard, keep loving people, keep serving people, and those things will end up working out in your favor. So I hope that's a positive message for you, even though at times, and especially over the last couple of weeks for me, it's been a couple different gut punches that, like I said, there's a lot of anger that comes with that from my perspective, just because I know what it's costing them. I know the money that it could help them serve their families with, serve their retirements with, all the various things. So I take it seriously because this is what I devote my professional life to. So I hope you have that type of passion with what it is you're doing. And even when the answer is no, or you have a failure or a missed opportunity, keep showing up, keep doing the work, and just keep moving forward. Those things will come to fruition for you. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you for tuning in. I would ask that you like, follow, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. That would mean the world to me. So please continue to do that for me. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep putting in the work, and those yeses will come. We'll see you next time.